everyone. On the occasion of World Environment Day, we have with us Dr. Santosh Satbhai from the Department of Biological Sciences, IISER Mohali. Hello, sir.
Hello, good morning.
Can you please introduce yourself and tell a bit about tell a bit about your research and your specialization?
Yes, so my name is Santosh Satbhai. So I'm currently associate professor at Department of Biological Sciences, and my main area of research is understanding the plant-environment interaction. And plants are very important part of environment, and so how plant deal with daily changes of the environment, such as nutrient availability, salt stress, heat, temperature, and so on. So we try to understand how plant adapt these stress conditions and then adjust their development and so on.
Yes, sir. So my first question is, does the research done on specific model organism have an application at larger scale, like in environmental conservation, where multiple species or organism interact?
Definitely. So, for example, my lab mainly uses Arabidopsis as a model organisms, which is not a crop plant. However, most of the genes and developmental pathways are highly conserved in crop plant as what we see in Arabidopsis. So, these knowledge gain in these model plants directly can be applicable in crop plants and understanding how they function also. However, the in crop plants sometimes the complexity is little higher, so which you need to go much more deeper and try to understand those different pathways, which in addition to the conservation, some other pathways might be involved in those stress conditions.
Thank you, sir. What is the application of stress resistant crops and plants with regard to environmental conservation?
I think this is very important and timely research topic, because if you understand, make the crop resistant, to let's say against salt stress. So those requirement of additional chemical fertilizer and so on will be reduced. The dependency on chemical fertilizer will be reduced, and that way plant can give better yield in those harsh conditions. So making plants resilient to different stress conditions would be definitely is very critical. In addition to that, for the soil restoration, the soil land contamination is also another problem. So if you have the plants which are resistant to, let's say, very highly arid conditions, and in the case of desertification, those plants can be used to revive the native plants and so on.
Yes, sir. What is the mechanism plants have for growing in high stress environment? Do you think it's enough for significant number of them to survive the rising temperatures, reducing soil fertility and other such rising problems?
Yes, so plants inherently they are very smart. So somehow they adjust their growth and development to the environmental stress conditions, such as heat, for example. So they have the mechanisms to cope with very harsh environments. So you will see most of the plants in nature, you will see they will survive in whatever harsh condition they are dealing with, because they have inherent mechanisms. However, the time has come because of due to extreme climate scenarios that we have to help in addition to what they already try to deal with themselves, by either in the case of cropland by breeding approaches, understanding the mechanisms and so on, understanding the wild varieties. So if you see the wild varieties of crop plants, they are much more resistant to very harsh environment. However, the over the time during the breeding domestication of these plants, we have lost those stress resistant traits, that we need to go back to the wild varieties and understand those genes and pathways which might be lost during the domestication. So that way, that would be very helpful for the plants to grow much better in those changing environment conditions.
So, some plants and microbes have a mutualistic relationship. In one of your papers, you mentioned bacterial endophytes inducing stress tolerance in Arabidopsis. With regards to this, what do you think is the impact of microbial ecology and how do you think the changing environmental condition will affect it?
Definitely, microbial ecology aspect is very critical. So plants are never alone. Whenever they grow and in soil condition, they are dealing with different microorganisms, and microbes are one of the very important part. Just like us, we have gut microbe. Healthy gut microbes is very critical for our overall health. For same thing for the plants, they also have their microbiome. The endophytes, which we are studying in the lab, we have understood that they are really helping plants to survive under harsh environments, such as very high saline environment. And this way, understanding the microbial ecology and how the plants and their symbiotic relationship is very critical to overall health of the plant.
Yes. How can young researchers contribute to climate science?
I think it's very important that young researcher can contribute in any many different ways. For example, day-to-day life, how we adapt our way of life. Single-use plastic, for example, we should try to avoid single-use plastic. We try to have a sustainable, life, so that we will try to have less burden on the environmental waste management and all these things. We can see the awareness with the young minds and young students should be very critical in this aspect.
How can student clubs such as Ambiente contribute to environmental awareness on campus?
I think this Ambiente clubs like Ambiente will play very critical role. Understanding, especially the first thing is they can do is the making on campus community more aware about the environmental scenarios and understanding uh, the climate change impact on overall uh, you know climate, earth and ecosystem, so that the main thing they can do, first thing they can make everyone aware about it,
Yes, sir.
try to live a sustainable way of life, so that we will have less burden on the ecosystem and so on.
Yes,
Other thing that they can do immediately, they can try to implement uh, the plastic free campus.
yes,
Hopefully that could be one of the way to initiate. They can organize such several events inviting experts in the specific areas, so that they can make awareness much more stronger. And in addition to awareness, taking small steps to implementation of those actions what we talk and what we preach, and then that way we can make uh, you know small steps towards big changes
yes.
over the time.
So, if you could implement one environmental change globally overnight, what would it be?
So one, I mean, this is very interesting question. So one overnight change. So if I have a power
Mm.
to do something like that, so one thing I will try to do, that I will try to ban the single-use plastics
Mm.
right away, so that we will reduce the burden of this single-use plastic highly strongly.
So, on this World Environment Day, what message would you like to share with students and young people?
So I would say we need to aware about the environment. We should be looking out about the planet Earth, because we are a part of it, this ecosystem, and we are a very critical component of this ecosystem. Though our human actions have created more problems, however, it's our responsibility to deal with those problems, to find the solutions, and young community and young students like you will play important role for this aspect. And I hope the IISER Mohali community will also contribute hugely in future all around the world.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable time.